This last time Halifax played here early in the season, went down 21-14 in the Northern Rails Cup, and it was snowing like mad on that day, but it really is ideal conditions, certainly for supporters this afternoon. Maybe a bit hot for the players, as Halifax try to do something no other team's done so far this season at Craven Park, and that is beat the Robins of Hull Kingston Rovers. And once again Anthony Farrell has problems in the forward without the likes of Andy Hobson, Johnny Simpson and Chris Birchall, and that's where the match was won and lost here earlier in the season. In the forwards, Halifax this afternoon, Damien Gibson goes back to full-back, James Haley, Damien Ball takes up the centre position, partnering Anthony Blackwood, Ricky Sharif on the other wing, Dean Lawford at 6, Ben Black rewarded for turning the game at Oldham a week last Friday, gets a start at 7. Chris Morley, Ben Fisher and Jason Bolts make up an experienced front row for Halifax. David Larder and Andy Spink are reunited in the second row after both missing games with injury. Pat Wiseman at loose forward, Alan Adcroft, Scott Law, Ryan MacDonald and Luke Simionovic on the bench for Halifax, and that possibly may be where Halifax problems lie, in the lesser experience of the forwards, because that's where Hull KR will probably take the game to Halifax. It's the fourth meeting this season of both of these clubs. Halifax running away the ball from the kick-off and making it up to the 20. Chris Morley running out wide. Hull Kingston Rovers this afternoon still under guidance of James Webster, in the absence of the Robins naming the new coach. That's been an ongoing saga for a few weeks now after the dismissal of Harvey Howard, as Wisner hoofs the ball downfield looking for the 40-20, but it held up for Jonathan Steele, who's playing number 2. Number 1 this afternoon for Hull KR, Leroy Rivette. Paul Parker, Gareth Morton, Byron Ford, the rest of the three quarters. Paul Manson and James Webster, the half-backs. Webster not only the coach but also the captain. James Garmston, Andy Ellis, David Tanger to Tower, Andy Rayleigh, Jason Netherton and Dale Olstock, the forwards. Phil Hasty, Kane Party, Jamie Boville, and the man that did a lot of damage against Halifax in those previous meetings at Macaulay as you on the bench. But Halifax have made good tackles in that first defensive set of 6, keeping Rovers in the first half, forced into the kick, and James Haley, whose dancing feet scored that spectacular try at Oldham last week, brings the ball back inside. Damien Ball takes it up towards the 40. Ben Fisher inside to Andy Spink. Jason Bolts up the middle. A wall of red and white shirts waiting for him. Wisner will run directly at the Rovers defence, and Colin Morris will signal the last tackle as Lawford puts one off the side of the foot. But how many problems will it cause as Blackwood goes for the man? Under pressure, Rivette there has the honour of scoring 4 tries in a Challenge Cup final for Leeds, the last one that took place at Wembley Stadium. Been around a bit now as Rivette. It's Gareth Morton, who's signed on a year-long deal here after a month's trial from Leeds. Big fella, the number 4, Webster, who's a danger man, gets up and plays the ball quickly. Ellis had to react quickly there as Manson hoofs the ball downfield, looking for defensive frailties. Gibson's quick to give it to James Haley, but just as quick as the advance from the chasing Rovers forwards, Gibson will have to take it away from his own line to help out the forwards. Carries it over the 20. Blackwood will do likewise. Well, losing the footing, and I did hear a conversation earlier outside the ground that said there was somebody here actually watering the field at 8 o'clock this morning. Whether they see there's a threat from the speed of the likes of Haley and Sharif, I'm not sure, but The ball goes to Lawford, who kicks it back towards Rivette, who takes it safely on the 10-metre line. And the chase from Halifax is not good this time as Rivette gets past 2 tacklers and he's still going forward, and he's beat Gibson as well. What a score from Leroy Rivette. Well, Halifax defenders falling off the tackle. Gibson made a despairing dive and Wisner just never got there, and there was no danger on when the fullback took the ball. Halifax had hung off. They weren't chasing up on the kick from Lawford, which wasn't the best. He went straight down the fullback's throat, and Leroy Rivette shows the pace and the strength to get away from 2 tacklers and score the first try for Hull Kingston Rovers. And the post-mortem taking place behind those Halifax posts, because to be fair, the fullbacks would never have got that far. There was never any pressure on him from the kick, and he probably couldn't believe that the ease at which he brought through the Halifax defence then. Well, I said the threat had come from the forwards, but it came from the veteran fullback Leroy Rivette, who raced 90 metres down the touchline and was able to get behind the post, because there was no chase from the Halifax defence. Only Sharif made the effort, and Morton strokes over the goal that takes Hull Kingston Rovers into an early lead. It's Hull Kingston Rovers 6, Halifax 0.
And the try completion for Hull Kingston Rovers, sponsored by Maxim's Memorial Fund, number 4, Gareth Morton.
So Wisner kicks long and deep, tries to keep the ball in the air as long as possible. No Jamie Bloom this afternoon either. That's a bit of a surprise. He rolled back the years against Oldham a week last Friday with an absolute stormer of a game. But the essence of rugby league is tackling, and if you don't defend, and then you're going to give the points away. And that's just what Halifax didn't do there, and now they've given easy yards for Webster as he launches the ball onto the 40-metre line in the Halifax half of the field. And Rovers will set up the charge with Oldstock on the first tackle. Up to the 30. Oldstock looking at the touch judge for the penalty. Tanga Tatoa driving it in. This is more what you'd expect from Hull KR. Webster setting up the position, and it's Rivette that's joined into the line once again. And a very quick play the ball. Ellis going from acting half. Halifax are caught as he got the ball down. Colin Morris says not, so it'll come back to the 10-metre line. Halifax caught napping again as the ball's pulled out. Colin Morris having words with Tanga Tatoa there about something. But Halifax still on the bus coming down the M62, because they're really not getting into this game as they should do. Black goes for the intercept, and Hull KR will get 6 more tackles. And Ben Black will be hoping before this game that his stay on the field would be longer than that, which it was in the last game when he came on, took the ball, sidestepped 2 men with a dodgy hamstring, and then missed several weeks of action. Well, they're going to need the scrum half to be at his best this afternoon, but they're going to need the defence to be at their best as Webster comes up from the back of the scrum. And Halifax are finally alert to Webster's charge, but only after he got over the line, and they managed to drag him back 5 metres. Now back with Tanga Tatoa, who gets the ball away. And I think it's Raleigh that just manages to keep hold of it. Ellis going for the glory again, and Halifax managing to hold him out again. But Webster putting the moves on from the acting half position. This time looks for the space. Manson dropping it will have slowed the progress down a little, but Oldstock still able to pick it up and take it just back over that 10-metre line. Looking for the quick play the ball. Ellis down the right hand side. Manson gets the ball away. Second try to Hull KR, and Halifax all at sea after some Stones defence, taking the Hull KR man back over the line twice and managing to stop the hooker and force the ball back for the 10-metre play. Well, Halifax are staring a hard day at the office in the face as Andy Raleigh charges in and once again allowed to stroll nearer the post to make the kick simple. And Morton lines up his second attempt from a simple position. Halifax hold another inquest behind the line. Well, they made the defensive effort for 4 or 5 tackles there, and it was a big effort. But Ulkehard had pulled too many players across, and Ulkehard had space on that far side for Raleigh to go in off the short pass from Manson and make it kickable for Morton, and that extends the lead to Hull Kingston Rovers 12, Halifax 0. Well, there's about 12 minutes gone. Halifax trail by 12. And that ball comes back off the face of Ellis. And Spinks kicked it on, but will they come back for the knock-on? No advantage. So Halifax will get a first crack at that Hull Kingston Rovers line. And after only 12 minutes, and dare I say it, they need to come away with some points. First real attack for Halifax. And they've stacked all the men to this right hand side of the field. They've just left Sharif at that side, and it'll be a 2-on-1 for Sharif, and then a 3 and a 4 as Ulkehard slide across, with men breaking off the scrum. And Jason Bolts will run into 3 on 8 metres, put down, turned on his back. Fisher looking this way, which the way sends the ball. Larder caught by Garmston. Fisher to Lawford, Lawford to Wisner, Wisner unable to keep hold of it, and Halifax blow an opportunity. Rovers allowed to come away again, and once again the tackling is woeful, and Halifax really need to do something in defence, because Byron Ford was allowed acres of space there. No tackles on him again. Rivetsin up to Wisner. Well, defence wins games, and at this rate Halifax are looking at a big defeat because the tackling is woeful in the first quarter of an hour of this game. Webster, tackle made on halfway on Tangata Tower. Manson, good tackle from Wisner, plays the ball, there's nobody at the back, there's a scramble at the end, it's away in a panic. Webster gets it to Tangata Tower. Tangata Tower looking for support, and Bolts manages to clamp the arm so he can't get the pass away. Last tackle, Webster will try and test Haley. That one will drop in the in-goal area, and Haley will defuse the bomb and then look for the quick play, which he gets from Fisher, but he has a lot of work to do. Ulkehard have made it back the 10, and Haley's driven to the ground by 2. Sharif coming in trying to help the forwards out. At the moment they need a lot of it. Spink driving forward, but Rovers have men there and they're making the tackles felt as Damien Ball goes forward up to halfway. 3 defenders there. Fisher tries to take advantage and throws the dummy, gets the ball away, but it's Manson that gets him quickly, flipped it to Rivet, hammered by Ben Black, but the ball had already gone. And there's a high tackle there from Spink or Morley. It's Chris Morley that will be spoke to, and Ulkehard will be awarded the second penalty by Colin Morris, and Anthony Farrell has already got his 4 subs warming up at the behind the Halifax in goal area as Rovers go hunting for potentially their third try. Halifax just not at the races yet. Webster gets the ball away to Netherton. Spent time at Halifax on loan. Now Hull KR player, not the best of passes from Webster. Gibson picks it up and tries to set up the counter-attack, but Manson watching him all the way, quick to close the full-back down. Blackwood will go again from acting half. And Ellis, like a ferret round the legs of the Halifax centre then. Larder unable to make much ground, and Rovers slow to get up from the tackle. Lawford to Jason Bolts. The defence from the Robins is far more committed than the defence of Halifax, and the alertness of Halifax has gone out the window again as Andy Raleigh goes in for his second try. And Hull KR can't believe how easy this is, surely. Halifax dropped the ball, nobody wanted to pick it up, and the second rower picks it up, goes from 30 metres, not a blue and white hand laid on him, and not even an attempt made to chase him down and make the tackle. Well, there's just nothing going right for Anthony Farrell's side. But Halifax have only the players have only themselves to blame, because once again took their eye off the ball. And really, somebody should have gone down on it. And the man that did was the Hull Kingston Rovers number 11, in for his second try, leaving Morton. Another simple kick in front of the post, and the hill for Halifax is turning into a mountain as Morton eyes up the opportunity in front of the post and doesn't take too much time. Quick look at the post and puts a third conversion to a third Rovers try and makes it Hull Kingston Rovers 18, Halifax 0.
Substitution for Hull Kingston Rovers, number 16, Jamie Roberts, replacing number 8, James Johnston.
18-0, and the ball coming out in the tackle, and the man allowed to get away again. Halifax being pushed back. Morley went in again with a lazy arm, which fortunately didn't connect. Tanga to Tower. Well, Hull Kingston Rovers currently lie third in National League One. Halifax are fourth and are 4 points behind, and we're looking to close that gap this afternoon. Well, it's going to take an almighty effort now if they've any hopes of doing that, as the ball bounces up for Byron Ford. Ford gives it to Morton, the ball back inside. Rovers still pouring forward, and Halifax managed to scramble possession off the floor. Damien Ball going down. There were two Rovers men there. Gibson cops one around the neck. Wisner charging the ball up to the defensive line again, but there's three waiting for him. Halifax make a change and take Morley off and bring on Scott Law. Halifax get the first penalty. Lawford gives it to Scott Law, who drives the ball up towards the Rovers 20. Jason Bolts. Halifax up to 15 metres, and Scott Law having a second run at that line and gets the ball away to Wisner. Wisner steps the full-back and gets the ball down. Well, Halifax have made the first 15 minutes look so difficult, and then up they step and make it look so easy with Scott Law slipping the ball out of the tackle. But Wisner on hand to step the full-back. Rivette and Halifax get the first try that they probably needed about 10 minutes ago, but nevertheless they're off the mark, and Scott Law has had an immediate impact on his entrance to the fray. 2 touches of the ball, the second one producing a try with a good pass from the prop to captain Pat Wisner, who goes in. And is this the start of the Halifax revival? Kingston Rovers 18, Halifax 4, and Wisner looking to turn it into 6, which he does from a fairly simple position. And Halifax back within 12 points, so that might give them a little bit of belief. To be fair, they've not spent a lot of time near that OKR line. That's only the second attack of the game so far for Halifax in the Rovers 20-metre area. Colin Morris not happy with the placing of the kick-off tee by Morton. Trying to keep it out of the rough patch of the centre spot as Larder takes it from Gibson, but the chase is good from Rovers, and Larder's brought down on the Halifax 10-metre line. Sharif will pick it up and go from acting half, and OKR have brought on the certainly one of the most potent weapons from the previous meetings. Not that it takes it away from any other forwards, but Macaulay, as you really did run riot against Halifax. Wisner opts for the 40-20, and that may go. It has done. It has. And touch judge has signalled it. Well, it kicked. Well, I think Colin Morris might have something to say about that, because it looked as though the chalk had come up off the line. And the potential here is that Colin Morris will take the ball all the way back down the field, because it looked as though it kicked up the whitewash. Well, he's gone with the touch judge, and OKR may feel justifiably badly done to there, because it looked as though it kicked up some of the whitewash, did the ball, when it bounced. And if it's on the line, of course, it's classed as out. Damien Ball, nevertheless, will try and shrug off Leroy Rivette unsuccessfully. He's brought down 15 metres away. Scott Law looking to have a similar impact in this build-up on the second tackle. Wisner, direct through at the Rovers defence. Fisher out to Lawford to Larder, and Larder just unable to stretch out of the tackle from the scrum half. Webster, Lawford to Wisner. Wisner gives it to Scott Law, and there's nowhere for Scott Law to go, but he does drag himself to within 5 metres of that line. Halifax looking to be lacking ideas there, as the kick over the top is diffused. Not the best of kicking. One on the floor might have been better. OKR look for the quick tap. Colin Morris allows them to continue, and Byron Ford hasn't even made the 10-metre line, and Colin Morris is not endeared himself to the crowd once again. Scott Law's just brushed away, but the reinforcements were there. Larder makes the tackle on halfway, ball bounces. Morton being pushed towards the touchline. That's good defence from Halifax. Andy Spink is put into touch, but there's no advantage there as Spink picked the ball up, so who'll get the put in? It's Rovers. Well, it was a loose ball from OKR which Spink pounced on. Well, they didn't seem to, although the ball did go backwards from OKR, so in that respect there wouldn't be an advantage to play. So Rivette takes it forward 5 metres inside the Halifax half. OKR 18, Halifax 6. That's a thundering tackle from Wisner, who's slow to get to his feet. Allstock pushes off Scott Law again at the first attempt. Rovers playing for the penalty. Ellis gets it away to Webster, spins away from ball. Now there could be problems with Azew pumping the legs, and Halifax just managing to bring him down. Ellis to Webster, men over on the far side. There could have been an obstruction there as the man went through. Last tackle. Webster normally the kicker, he's down on the floor, so it'll go to Manson, who'll test Sharif, and Sharif will lose it backwards, will it? And Colin Morris has gone for the tap on the 20, and Sharif looking to take an advantage of it as Sharif tries to carve through the middle of the Rovers defence. Fisher trying to pinch yards from acting half and does so with 11 to 12. Larder to shouts a forward pass, makes it up to the 40, and Ryan MacDonald paying through the pain barrier once again for Halifax, comes on for Jason Bolts. Halifax trying to counteract the threat of Azew on the last tackle as Lawford tests Rivette, but once again there are no chasers for Halifax. Rivette allowed to pick it up, but this time Halifax are not taking any chances, and there's 2 men in, 3 men in to put the full-back down. Halifax trying to pin Hulkinson Rovers down for once. They've done it. I think they've only done it successfully once in this first half, where they've kept Rovers within their own half on the 6. First man bouncing off the tackle is finally made. Azew, good tackling round the legs from Andy Spink. Last tackle. Halifax have done the job successfully up to now, but what can they do from the kick, which Manson goes down the middle of the field. Gibson will have to bring it back. He was expecting it to go dead, but it took a bounce which took it straight up in the air, and Gibson makes good yards back to the 20 metre. The chase not just as quick there from the Rovers side this time, as Sharif looks for the gap, bounces off the first attempt to tackle a Manson, gets some, plays it quickly. Haley trying to take on a couple of the forwards, they're slow to get to the feet. Damien Ball saw a bit of a gap and gets the ball away to MacDonald. MacDonald drops it off to Fisher. Fisher with a step, round one, wrapped up by Azew just outside the Rovers 40. Lawford to Larder. Larder gets it away to Blackwood. Blackwood loses possession. Something going on over there with Oldstock and Blackwood on that far side. And the touch judge, I think, looking at Blackwood as the offender there. As Rovers get back to the halfway line. Netherton has Phil Hasty, Rovers replacement, running on his side. Manson tests Haley with a kick, and the kick will go into touch. So the scrum on the 10 metre line, Black to Lawford, and Lawford I think looked to kick then, or feigned to kick, but gave it to Blackwood. There's no fullback at home at the moment for Ulkayar as MacDonald drives it forward and then gives easy possession back to Ulkayar. Signals his apology, but I don't think he'll be accepted, because here go Ulkayar looking to reinstall that 18-point lead. Azew from short distance, looked like the pass had been forward, and Azew is down 5 metres away, and there could be problems here for Halifax. Rovers stacking men on this near side. Phil Hasty to Gareth Morton. Morton gets it away to Ford, and MacDonald's mistake has cost Halifax dear, and the big centre was held, but he managed to get the ball out to number 5, Byron Ford, and Halifax are committing suicide right under their own post. Ryan McDonald would have been better served to keep hold of the ball, and I think he knows it now. But he's given the ULKR the advantage back, and they've hammered that advantage home with another try and a lead of 22 points to 6. Well, Halifax have managed to somehow claw their way back into this game after ULKR had a massive advantage with possession and field position in the opening 20 minutes of this first half, and unfortunately Ryan McDonald has just handed the advantage back to Hull Kingston Rovers, and they're in every mood to accept the charity and post another 4 points. Fourth try of the afternoon. Will Morton kick his fourth conversion, his most difficult so far. There shouldn't be any obstructions for him, and Morton boots that one over from the touchline. Halifax trailing by 18 points again. It's ULKR 24, Halifax 6. Wisner kicking off, the ball bounces awkwardly in front of Webster, but he manages to pick it up. ULKR teasingly showing the ball as if to pass, but the tackle made as used the dummy runner. Manson looks immediately over at that far side where ULKR were building an advantage, but Halifax sussing out the danger very quickly. As Halifax are continually pushed back though, with Webster running onto what looked like a yard forward pass from Azul. Webster complaining about something as Azul picks himself up on halfway. Hasty gets it out wide. Rivette shows the ball inside and then gets it away, but the ball spilled out as Ben Black picks it up for Halifax. He runs across the defence, and Macaulay Azul, well, he slipped down there after initially looking a bit high on the Halifax scrum half, and I don't think Ben Black too happy with the tackle. Manson as well up around the neck area. Fisher looking for the offside, knew the man was offside as Fisher gets it away, takes out Damien Ball in the process, but carries Halifax back up to almost the Rovers 10 metre line. Ben Black against the defence, gets it back to Wisner. Wisner not able to keep hold. This time Halifax managed to put a boot to the ball, and the scrum will form. The right idea, just a bit poor on the execution. The ball dipping down at Wisner's feet. And so Halifax will have to look at restricting Rovers' progress forward from this next set of 6 with 7 or 8 minutes to half time, and Halifax staring down the barrel again. Rovers pushing forward, almost losing the ball there. Jamie Boville, another one of the Rovers replacements. Well, Macaulay Azul does the same thing and manages to somehow retrieve the possession, and Webster goes for the 40-20, and that will be one back for Hull Kingston Rovers. The scrum will form 10 metres out, and Rovers will get possession. Well, it was right on the 40, it was Webster, but it was a perfect kick, and this will really add to Halifax's woes if Rovers come up with another 4-pointer here. There's nothing to suggest that might happen. Colin Morris not happy with the way the scrum was packed down. Wisner hanging on loosely at the back of the scrum. Manson shows the ball, And Halifax somehow managed to keep hold of the standoff as he went towards the Halifax line. Morton gives it to Holstock. Holstock throws it away. Beauville chases it and goes down. Wisner makes sure he stays down as Rovers lose ground, but could that be to their advantage as you makes a short 3 metre run before being caught by McDonald and Scott Law. Manson, this left hand side once again, and Netherton it was that time looking to get the ball away. Manson to Beauville. Beauville once again stopped by 3. 8 metres away, the last tackle. Webster goes from acting half, and Rovers have men queuing up on that side, but Holstock, as he got the ball down, touch judge had a look. Well, the ball's over the line, and Halifax couldn't hold on for the last tackle. They held back off Webster, perhaps expecting the kick through on the floor. Holstock had work to do, but he managed to plunder his way under 3 defenders and get the ball down. And that looks like, as we approach half time, that could be game, set and match already for Hull Kingston Rovers. It was Webster's kick, the 40-20, that put Rovers in the position. And despite a valiant effort from Halifax, they just hung back, perhaps on the last tackle, waiting for Webster's kick. He threw the ball out wide. Holstock at pace and managed to force his way over the line. And Anthony Farrell will have to get his half-time talk book out again to his players, because whatever he told them to do in the first half, Hull Kingston Rovers have swept it aside as Morton converts a 5th conversion. And Halifax now have an absolute mountain to climb, trailing by 24 points with a couple of minutes left in the first half. Wisner with a long kick. Webster looking for the quick play off Garmston, who's just returned. And Netherton almost getting the ball away there. Webster does to Morton, and Morton gets it away to Ford. Well, MacDonald won't catch Byron Ford. Well, he did, but only after Gibson had slowed the winger down. Webster fires the ball in quickly. Hull KR looking for the advantage on the far side with Hasty to Holstock. Manson with a lazy pass. MacDonald will pick it up and brush away Webster, but his progress stopped by Netherton and Morton as Damien Ball goes from acting half, but not enough yards made for Halifax as they keep hitting this red and white wall of defence. Lawford to Larder, and once again no room to work. Wisner to Spink. Spink gets it back. Did it come off an Hull KR hand? Well, it didn't, but the referee said play on as Damien Ball ships it inside. Haley picks it up and gets it away to Spink. Shouts a forward pass. Spink carries the ball up almost to the 20 metre line, and that will be a penalty to Halifax. Ball ripped out, 2 men in the tackle. Well, Halifax have no option but to go for the 4 as Ben Black tries to dance his way through the Rovers defence. But there's too much experience in that defensive line to let the scrum half get away with that, as Blackwood tries to use his power to take Halifax to within 4 metres. Lawford gives it to Wisner. Wisner running off the ball again, and Wisner's got the ball down, and Halifax have it back with a second try. Pat Wisner's second try, and running off the inside ball again. And the Captain's second try has moved Halifax into double figures. Well, I'm sure that won't satisfy coach Anthony Farrell because his team are losing by so many. But once again, Halifax make it look difficult. They go to the other end and then make it look so simple. And Wisner converts once again. So the lead cut to 18 points. Hull KR 30, Halifax 12. And that just keeps Halifax clinging onto the shirt tails of the Robins. With 1 minute to go in this first half, Scott Law takes the ball from the kick-off. Halifax will be just happy to keep all of the possession for 6 tackles. Anything else above that would be a bonus, but Hull KR defence are not going to be in such a charitable mood as Andy Spink gets round Azul's attempted tackle, but there's 2 reinforcements there to bring down the second row on the 40-metre line. Wisner direct route again straight at Webster, and might have had more out of that had the big prop Azul not been there as well. Wisner throws the ball away, sign of frustration. But at the end of the first half, Hull Kingston Rovers ruled the game for the first 20 minutes and stamped their authority on it with Rivette's first try after some woeful defending, Morton converting, then Andy Raleigh after Halifax had stacked men at one side, and Raleigh with a second try after Halifax had dropped the ball and nobody made the attempt to play it. Halifax hit back with a try after Scott Law's good work just after he came on, converted his own try, 18 points to 6. But then Hull KR went into attacking mode again. Byron Ford and Roy Olstock adding another 2 tries with Morton's 2 conversions, making it 30 points to 6. But Halifax not giving up yet as Wisner scores his second try, kicks his second conversion. Half time, Hull KR 30, Halifax 12. Hands to get his point across to his players at half time. And I'm sure there would have been 1 or 2 words that couldn't be used on a family video. What effect it will have in the second half, that will unfold in the next 40 minutes as Wisner gets the ball away. And noticeable that Ryan MacDonald has not come out for the second half, well certainly not onto the field for the second half. And he's being banished to the other end of the ground by the looks of it, and he's going very slowly. Alan Adcroft on for MacDonald as Halifax try to shore up the defence. Last tackle, Hasty hoofs the ball down at the throat of Damien Gibson. Gibson gives it to Sharif, but there's no room for Sharif to get through. Halifax trying to bring the ball away, and if any other team needed the first score of the second half, it has Halifax. Scott Law unloads the pass. It was held the ball out, invited, nobody accepted, and the ball just rolled off the hand of the Halifax replacement prop, and normal service resumed as it was in the first half, with Halifax giving easy possession to the Robins and putting them in an attacking position. And Mackay Azul almost through there. Webster waits, acting half, gives it to Hasty, live wire, ball bounces up kindly for Paul Parker, who in his haste to try and get Jonathan Steele away put the ball into touch. Halifax will breathe a sigh of relief because If the ball had gone to hand there, that may have been a 4-pointer for the Robins. Hadcroft from the back of the scrum. Tackled by Netherton, breaking off the pack quickly. Damien Ball to the 30-metre line. Gibson with a scoop from dummy half that is not too effective as Morton stops it. Black to Scott Law. This time opts to keep hold of the ball. Ben Fisher from acting half. Takes the ball over halfway, disappears under 2, but it's a last tackle. Colin Morris with his hand in the air as Lawford puts one off the side of the foot away from Rivette, the fullback. Bounce comes up for Byron Ford, and Wisner the first to the winger, making sure he stays down. And Halifax need to do the work as Steele comes in to do some of the work for the forwards. Webster turns it back inside to Azu, who's hammered in a standing position by Larder and Wisner. Webster once again in at acting half. Andy Raleigh trying to bust his way through over the 20. Good tackle by Spink. Good defence by Halifax. Rovers making to the 30-metre line on the last tackle as Manson's forced into a bit of a rush kick. Gibson underneath it, safe as houses. Root one down the middle for Damien Gibson, and a kick return with interest to the 40-metre line. Haley manages to get away from the clutches of Holstock, but Webster into the second attempt. Sharif will go from acting half and away from 2, but running sideways. The winger eventually run ending after a 4 to 5 metre gain. Blackwood. Halifax being reduced to one-man rugby with the speed at which the Rovers defence is getting up as Damien Ball gets it back to Andy Spink, and Spink's found a gap. Spink for the corner against the fullback Rivette, and Rivette manages to take the second rower into touch, but that was a good run by Andy Spink, just a little bit late releasing the ball. But good defence from Dale Holstock, injured himself in the process. Morris checking on the injury to Holstock. Well, he's going to have the fingers taped up. Halifax will be glad of the opportunity to take a breather as they try and restrict the Rovers' progress out of their own half of the field again. Who's taking a long look at this is Colin Morris, but surely if the man's injured, take him off the field. Holstock taped up back and ready for action. Morton on the 10, tackled by Gibson and Hadcroft. And OKR quickly seeing that Hadcroft had moved in off that far side, trying to take advantage down that left hand flank as Makalayu is hammered after 7 or 8 metres. Rovers supporters have seen something, perhaps calling for an offside. Phil Hasty takes a high shot which Colin Morris had a good view of and chose to ignore. Rivette dancing and stepping, tries to get the ball away. Good tackle by Ben Black. Last tackle. Halifax have managed to keep Rovers in their own half again. Manson boots the ball downfield. Gibson waits underneath it, gives it to Sharif. Not a lot of options for the winger. And hammered down by 2 forwards. Holstock and Tanga Tatoa, who's just come back on for Rovers. Gibson gets away from 2, gets away from 3, still stepping. And then eventually into the arms of Andy Rayleigh. And Colin Morris has had a close look at something there and decided to give a penalty to Wilkinson Rovers for somebody talking out of turn. Well, perhaps Wilkinson Rovers, I think Halifax deserve some respect, and at 30 points to 12, Gareth Morton is just going to try and give that 20-point cushion to Wilkinson Rovers. About 37 metres out, 5 metres to the right hand side of the upright, this making Halifax's task that little bit more difficult, as if it wasn't already. 18 points down. And Morton has found the target. And Wilkinson Rovers lead by 32 points to 12. Courtesy of Gareth Morton's huge kick from the 37 metres out. Halifax task made more difficult. And can they pick themselves up from this? Seen a gap down the middle there. Tanga Jatoa running on strongly, carrying the ball over the 40. OKR making better progress this time. Webster uses the short side, gives it to Netherton, who gets over halfway. Manson to Hasty. Hasty saw a bit of a gap. Larder quickly closed it with a good tackle around the ankles. Last one, and Manson will go to the air again to test Haley. Picks the ball out of the air, never really fazed by any pressure from that, isn't Haley? And now there's open field. Rovers quick to get back and make sure that Haley's not allowed the space. They know there's a danger. He's 19 tries this season. And Halifax get a penalty. Rovers offside, said Colin Morris. And Wisner not waiting for Rovers to get the defensive line back as he hoofs the ball into touch. Chris Morley back on for Scott Law. And Halifax looking for a quick reply to that Rovers penalty. The Sprinks brought down 12 metres out. Morley straight into the action. And Morley takes Halifax to within 6 metres. Fisher to Lawford. Lawford brings Larder back on the inside. But the Rovers defence eye on the man and ball all the time. Spink went close. Throws a wild pass out. Gibson gets it off the floor with a boot and brings Damien Ball back on the inside. Damien Ball just brought down. Halifax still 5 metres away. Ben Black shows the ball. Had Wisner as the runner. Wisner was taken out. Balls fired out from Black to Fisher. How did he do that? That was incredible from the scrum half. Wilkinson Rovers had thought the man was tackled. He's left a man on the floor. But Ben Black somehow squeezed the ball out. Look, there's 3 men round him there. Squeezed the ball out to Fisher. And Fisher with a simpleton task for 3 metres out to go over the line, put the ball down. And Wisner again obliges from in front of the post. So the conversion from Wisner makes it Wilkinson Rovers 32, Halifax 18. Plenty of time left, but Wilkinson Rovers were 30-0 up against Featherstone last week. Eased off in the second half. And although they got the win, it wasn't by the margin which the first half play might have suggested. So Halifax back to within 14 points, still with a lot of work to do, of course. And there, an indication of Hull KR's efforts in that the tackle made 12 metres out from the Halifax line from the kick-off, and Spink only making 3 or 4 metres with a run. Morley running the angles and taking the ball out over the 20-metre line. Damien Ball running back into trouble. Halifax almost up to the 40. Ben Black to Lawford. Lawford turns it back inside to Spink. Spink with work to do. Halifax don't make much progress. It's the last tackle. They'll be looking well, Black's taking the ball. I thought it might have been looking for the 40-20 off Pat Wisner, but Allstock takes the ricocheting pass. And Halifax have made little ground on that kick. They should have been down in the Hull KR 20. As Lawford's pushed away by Rayleigh, and hobbles back to his feet trying to run the injury off. But once again, Rovers given an easy passage towards the Halifax line with Tanga to Toa, releasing to Webster. Hasty gets the ball out wide, and the tackle made on Parker is by Ricky Sharif. Blackwood, Morley misses Hasty, and that could create a gap as Hasty continues across the field, and it's a 3-on-2 on that far side, and Rivette's gone the wrong way. Morton now goes back to that far side. Halifax just can't get him out over the touchline. Last tackle, Webster. Halifax not hanging off this time. Wisner picking it up in front of the post. Webster the kicker, then Webster the tackler on the Halifax captain Pat Wisner. Adcroft up from acting half and trying to win the penalty. Lawford gives it to Sharif, but the Rovers forwards getting across with some speed no matter how fast the ball's moved across, as Morley almost gets to the 30-metre line. Fisher has opted for the 40-20. There's a lot of space down that far side. The ball won't make the touchline, but it will mean that the fullback Rivette will have to bring the ball away from his own line, and almost gets away. Haley just hanging on, but there's men still coming back from Hull KR, so they'll be forced into one-out rugby for the first couple of tackles. And Jason Netherton stood in an offside position there. He's not making any attempt to get back the 10 metres away from the ball. Referee Colin Morris ignoring that, and Halifax right out of the blocks there, but it could have caused problems. Tanga to Toa finally hauled down and playing for the penalty. Webster gets the ball out to Jason Netherton. Last tackle, Rovers still in their own half. Manson puts a little chip over the top, and there's problems here, but the ball's gone to ground. Andy Spink will pick it up for Halifax, and that's a let-off, is that? That could have been so different then had that ball not bounced the other way. Sharif gets away from one, but he's still put down on the 40. And Sharif injured once again as Damien Ball tries to take the ball forward, turns it back inside to Morley, and Fisher points him in the direction of the post, and there's a few sharp intakes of breath from the Halifax crowd there as Morley gets up to his feet, a bit groggy. Gibson, ball goes down, that's got to be a knock on. It's come off an Hull KR man, it's got to be a knock on. Paul Parker celebrates, but he's knocked the ball forward. So the new ruling proves controversial again. Did Parker go for the man or did he go for the ball? But it looked like it came off his hand. Well, Martin's conversion will surely make the gap 20 points again. It will be Hull Kingston Rovers 38, Halifax 18, but I think Paul Parker was a bit fortunate there, the way that ball went. Did he go for the man? Did he go for the ball? And Morton does oblige with a kick, so Halifax with a lot to do. Bringing Jason Bolts back on and Luke Simionovic. Andy Spink off. Can't see who else has. Can't actually see who else has come off. Long kick from Wisner. Caught in the in-goal area. And Halifax up to make the tackle 15 metres away from the Rovers line. Well, that will has the potential to put a few Halifax heads down as Beauville tries to plunder his way forward by any means, including use of the head, it looked like, from up here. An old sock. And it's amazing what a difference the score makes, because it looks like the Rovers are off again with Parker. Gets it on the inside. Sharif will pick it up, but won't be allowed to make any progress. Blackwood. But they're just a crowd of red and white players around every Halifax man that gets the ball. And Halifax suffering from 1 or 2 knocks now. Jason Bolts is met immediately by the onrushing Rovers defence. Larder gets it away to Simionovic, but he loses the ball. Under pressure. Well, it's just not going to be a day for Halifax in this, as Black wrestles the ball from Tanga to Tower and Morton gets it back. And the referee will give Hull Kingston Rovers 6 tackles with the aid of the touch judge on the far side as Rivette sees the gap. Halifax close him down, and there's a sign of frustration here from Halifax now. But they have given too much possession away. But I don't think the Parker try will settle very happily in the Halifax camp, because it looked like a knock on. Larder with a rattling tackle on Manson there as Hasty kicks to the corner, knowing that the sand will perhaps hold it up, but the ball bounces off the flag and will come back for a tap on the 20. Halifax unable to take advantage of the situation with a quick tap, so Hull KR back and waiting as Morley takes the first drive out. Blackwood from acting half, away from Morton. Morton comes back to get him at the second attempt, although he needed a bit of help from Phil Hasty. Lawford to Simionovic, and that one has put the youngster on debut flat out on the floor. Well, he's not moved since he went down. Such was the impact of the tackle. Well, Colin Morris signalling time off. And what's the betting on this one? Going on report? I think so. I can't see a man going off, but it was a clattering tackle on the young replacement. And in cases like that, it's unfortunate that when that does happen, should be a day to remember. But come 5 o'clock, I don't think young Simionovic will remember anything about his debut at Hull KR. Wants to stop on, but the legs have gone. And I think he's trying to establish which planet he's on, because that really was a bell ringer. Colin Morris speaking to the offender. Put that on report. Well done, Mr. Morris. Yeah, well, he's not even warranted putting it on report. Well, obviously doesn't even warrant going on report the fact that youngsters taking such a battering. Bolts gets it to Lawford. Lawford out to Ben Black. Ben Black brings Hardcroft back on the inside. Hardcroft looking for the way, but Hull Kingston Rovers push Halifax back over the 30-metre line. Larder Takes it back up towards the 20, but it's hard to see where Halifax are going to conjure anything up against this Rovers defence now. Morley charges it forward to within 16 metres of the Rovers line. MacDonald back on for Halifax. There's a knock on there, so Halifax will get another 6 from the scrum. Interesting that Lawford and Blackwood were quick to see that Tangata didn't pick the ball up and set off with it then. Well, Black to Hadcroft, trying to open up the Rovers defence, brought down 12 metres away. Gibson inside to Black. Black short ball to Jason Bolts, and Bolts trying to spin out of the tackle. Takes 3 to put him down eventually. Rovers once again in no rush to get up from the tackle. Lawford brings Larder back on the inside, and the gap as it opened up for Larder. Well, he stretched, but he just couldn't get the ball out. Fisher fires it out. Lawford, long ball out wide. Gibson will pick it up for Halifax. As men coming on the inside with James Haley, but went round the outside, was forced towards the touchline. Haley gets inside to Black. Black with a chip through, and that's as good as a pass to Rivette. Well, kicking game non-existent from Halifax this evening. So effective against Oldham 10 days ago. And a party on for Hull KR. Beauville charging it forward up to the 40 metre line. Last tackle, Morton. Well, it was inside the 40, but kicked it straight down the throat of Gibson. And Rovers hoping to benefit more from the return that Halifax attempt, as Gibson brings it back almost to the 30 metre line. Sharif from acting half. Well, Ellis had him down, and then there were 2 men in over the top on Sharif. MacDonald, well, making a few yards from a slow start there. The big prop. Wisner to Larder. Wisner to Lawford. Lawford holds it up, gets it away to Ben Black. Ben Black running around the outside, inviting players in. Haley gets hold of the ball eventually, but too much this time to do for Haley as the Rovers defence close him down, and it's the last tackle, so Lawford will hoof the ball into the air. There's no pressure on Rivette. Once again, Rivette gets up, gets out of the first tackle, gets the ball away to Hasty, and MacDonald reels Hasty in. As Hasty's supporters in red and white appeal for the penalty. Steele dumped just outside the Rovers 40. Just over midway through this second half. Wisner makes the tackle, but the ball comes out to Manson, and Manson can do damage. Halifax get back. Haley makes the tackle, so that'll be a knock on. Good defence from the winger. Byron Ford claiming it was pulled out and by the winger, but doesn't matter anyway because it went backwards as far as Haley was concerned. Halifax will scrum on the 40. Lawford to Blackwood, but Blackwood unable, well, made extra yards despite the attention of tacklers. MacDonald will go from an almost standing start as McAlyer's is brushed away, and then it's every man in on Ryan MacDonald, but he's managed to stay on his feet and play the ball quickly. Fisher has seen a gap, but he's used Colin Morris as the foil, but it hasn't really done much for Halifax as Larder's brought down just inside the 40. Colin Morris signalled that it was the last tackle, but it doesn't matter anyway because Halifax have turned over possession again. And Gibson makes the tackle on Beauville. Well, big collision with Morley, and both men went down. Ellis from acting half up to halfway, and there could be an eruption here in the last 20 minutes, the way some of these tackles are going in now. Jason Bolts makes another one as Rovers lose a bit of ground. Manson from acting half shows the ball, brushes away the tackler. Adcroft has him just short of the 30. As you again make 10 metres up for Rovers cause it's the last tackle. And Manson goes for the power play, throws the ball away. Rivette picks it up, it's still on for Rovers as Morton opts for the drop goal. Never anywhere near the post. So Halifax will bring the ball out again. But once again, all muscling up in defence. Halifax struggling to get near that whole line. And McDonald only making 5 metres with the first charge forward. Adcroft from acting half. Running 15 diagonally and making 5. Blackwood runs straight at Phil Hasty and makes a good 15 metres for Halifax up towards halfway. Morley to Black. Lawford short ball that brings Bolts back on the inside, and Bolts drags his way almost up to that Rovers 40 metre line. Fisher to Wisner, chip over the top for Sharif to chase, and it almost came up for Sharif, but was he tackled off the ball? He's going to give a knock on, and it's going to go in Hull KR's favour. And if, as it looks, this match goes Hull KR's way, then it means the National League One is becoming a bit of a 3-horse race. Castleford and Hull KR and Whitehaven in second place, who are the visitors to the Shea next week. Of course, one of the problems that Anthony Farrell has is it's had a multitude of injuries throughout this season that have hampered Halifax's play, but once again, poor tackling, no excuse for that. Whoever's wearing the shirt, but Rivette injured. Touch of cramp by the look of it. So Ellis told by the referee to play the ball elsewhere while Rivette receives treatment. And Ellis is hammered just over the Halifax 40 on the last tackle. Morton gets it to Parker to Steele, and Steele is going to be down on the last tackle. Obviously wasn't aware of it, kept hold of the ball. Lawford inside to Gibson out to Ben Black as Halifax look to bring it away from their own half. Bailey, well, still no room for the winger to work in. Hull KR numbering up in defence, but Halifax have brought it a long way back from that first play as Scott Law back on for McDonald, takes it over halfway. Fisher to Black shows the ball, takes on the defence and almost does it successfully. Sharif gets it inside to Lawford to Scott Law, and Law brought down on the 20 metre line. Lawford off the side of the boot, but still the kick not causing problems. Well, the tackle did, with Gibson and Wisner taking the man touching goal. And this Rivette and Manson receiving attention for cramp. Shame they didn't get it 15 or 20 minutes ago. Not enough time now for Halifax to have any impact really on that lead that Hull KR have. Morton with the drop out, which Gibson will field and give inside to Jason Bolts. And Bolts is being driven towards the touchline, gets the ball away. Haley quickest to react, gets inside to Morley. Morley to Fisher. Fisher looking for the gap underneath the Rovers defence. Ben Black seeing a little bit of a gap, turns back inside. Ben Black pushing men off, tries to get it away. It's come off a Rovers player, and Ellis will be allowed to bring it back into play. Well, they haven't had a bounce in the favour, haven't Halifax this afternoon? As Morley went charging in, but the man went down before he got there. Jonathan Steele it was. Well, another day of disappointment for the Halifax supporters, who were looking forward to something a little bit more than this after 3 wins on the trot. Scott Law tackled by Azu. Colin Morris said it's round the chest. Manson hoofs the ball across field, fielded by James Haley. Haley brings it inside, gets past the first man and gets over halfway. Gibson linking up into the line again from full back, bringing Ben Black back on the inside. He gets it to Hadcroft. Hadcroft tries to find the gap in what has been a virtually watertight defence this afternoon for Hull Kingston Rovers. Whether Halifax can take advantage of a rapidly tiring Hull KR defence remains to be seen. The players going out with cramp. Morley tries to get the ball away, and there's a chase on here from Hasty, but Halifax will get 6 more tackles. Rivette shakes his head in disbelief, and Sharif tries to run the angle and get towards the post. Fisher from acting half. Fisher teasing the Rovers defence, takes it to within 5 metres. Wisner off the short ball again, but has lost the possession, and it's gone backwards, says the referee. Well, I don't think Halifax will be arguing with that one. An easy try in the end, and Damien Gibson will run it right round behind the posts. And Halifax have managed to take advantage of a defence that is dropping like flies. Somebody else receiving attention. I think it's Ellis, the hooker. He's suffering from cramp. Another conversion from Wisner, and it's Hull KR 38, Halifax 24. So the gap down to 14 points for the second time this half, and still 5 minutes to go. Hull Kingston Rovers not in any rush to get the ball back into play, so Colin Morris stopping the clock.
And there's for Halifax, by number 13, Castle Wisner. Substitution for Hull Kingston Rovers, number 10, David Sangasatsura.
So Morton with the long kick, Gibson the try scorer underneath it. Bolts to run the ball back at the Rovers defence, and almost looked as though he may have attempted the pass out of the tackle there. Fisher to Scott Law. Law takes the ball forward.
Substitution for Hull Kingston Rovers, number 16.
Wisner goes for the 40-20, but it's not going to get there. Looks at the sky in disbelief, but it was never really anywhere near the mark, wasn't that one? As Ford gets the ball away to Iparte, and Iparte, the Cook Island player, fancies a run round the outside, and Halifax put him down and into touch. The referee's flag is up. Colin Morris hasn't seen it, and I don't think the Hull Kingston Rovers supporters had seen it, and I think Jason Bolts has seen it about 5 yards further towards the Halifax line than he should have been. And once again, no rush from the Rovers supporters. I'm not sure if Colin Morris has stopped the clock. He's trying to rush the players up. Well, finally he has stopped it. Ben Black feeds the scrum and gets it to Sharif, and Sharif's away from the defence. There's no chase, and Ricky Sharif is going to score from halfway. Ben Black drew the defence to him all the way across, and Ricky Sharif put the pedal to the metal from 50 metres. And this really surely must be too late for Halifax now. But Halifax back within 10 with the first Sharif try in a while. Wisner quick to get on with the kick. And Wisner wastes no time in putting the ball between the posts to cut the lead to 8 points. Hull KR 38, Halifax 30. Well, Rovers faded in the second half against Featherstone last week. Halifax would have wished they'd have faded a little bit earlier this week, but since they've started going down with cramp, Halifax are running 2 tries. Colin Morris stops the clock again. Well, he knows Rovers won't be in a rush for the restart as Morton kicks the ball. Bolts waited for it. It was Gibson that took it. Gibson drops the shoulder and he's tackled on the Halifax 10 metre line. Spink. Well, good tackle from Ellis considering the fatigue that's set into this Rovers side. Jason Bolts, well, showed the dummy, and then he's driven back by Tanga to Tower. And as you, Lawford away to Black. Black teasing the defence again. Black almost getting it away. Blackwood just unable to pick it up. Well, that could be the last hurrah for Halifax in this game. Not surprisingly, Rovers not really in too much of a rush to play the ball, as Steele just puts it up the jumper and takes the ball in. Macaulay as you. Well, not much left in the tank. Manson putting the shoulder in, trying to push the defender away. Scott Law comes across. Tanga to Tower, taking a direct route up the middle. Rovers to within 15 metres. Short side. Haley will have no option but to run the ball out now because he's touched it and he's managed to get the ball back into play somehow, and was assisted by the tackle from the Rovers defender, which actually dragged him away from the line. As Spink goes down despite the attention of 3 who were trying to force him back over that Halifax try line. Hardcroft to Lawford, juggled with it, trying to duck under the tacklers, put down 10 metres out. Wisner charges the ball up, and there was a swinging arm there from Jamie Boville. Lawford hooks the ball downfield. It'll stand up for, I'm not sure if it's Ford or Party, that one. But it's a good tackle, nevertheless. Well, he was still on his feet. He needed some assistance to go down. But Hull Kingston Rovers have hung on for a victory that takes them 6 points clear of Halifax. A rapidly tiring side. Halifax sit back with 2 late tries, and the score could have been closer had Halifax not made so many mistakes and defensive errors in the first half. It was essentially there in the bag for Rovers at half time, leading 30 points to 12. Morton's penalty from 37 metres gave them the 20 points advantage. Halifax always up against it, but Fisher scoring off a try off a pass from Ben Black after there were 3 men round him and the ball just squeezed out. Wisner converting from under the post. Parker conscientious a little bit. Did he go for the ball? Did he go for the man? It looked like a knock-on, but Colin Morris allowed the try. Morton again converted, and Hulkinson Rovers were going down with cramp. They were going down like flies, and Gibson and Sharif taking advantage with 2 late tries, which Wisner converted. Another 10 minutes might have done Halifax a bit better, but as it is at the end, the scoreline looks respectable, but Halifax haven't picked the points up. They've been a bit woeful in defence, and they've made too many mistakes, and I think they'll know that. The score at Craven Park, Hulkinson Rovers 38, Halifax 30.